We've talked about impermanence, how the death and dying process can help us in living more fully in the moment, how we can bring mindfulness to impermanence and death and dying, and the practice of grief, and even just allowing grief to be present without needing to change it, or just being present with it. Today we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to continue this discussion, and we are going to talk about a book that was written called The Five Invitations by Frank Ostaseski, who started the Zen Hospice Project. And just reading a little bit from the introduction or from the foreword of that book, why it's important, and then looking at some of the what he calls the five invitations. The five invitations, which are very appropriate in the practice of mindfulness. They're very appropriate in the practice of mindfulness. In fact, mindfulness can sort of help us. You'll see when we talk about the five invitations. But just like anything that you want to get good at, let's say repetition is key. So we repeat the same topics sort of over and over and over again. You might be in a different state of mind when you hear them. And sometimes you hear them once and then you hear them twice, and then you might hear them three times, and they might resonate with you differently. For instance, I don't know how many talks I've been on compassion. Every time I hear a different talk on compassion, it resonates with me differently. Maybe I'm in a different state of awareness or whatever it might be. But even if it's the same thing repeated over again, it's just another firing in my mind, in my brain, that reinforces that concept. And so that's sort of what we do. Sometimes, and I've learned this over the years, we want to bring up topics that even we don't feel comfortable talking about, or don't know how to talk about them, or whatever it might be. But yet, when you bring a way of mindfulness to it, and you're with people who are compassionate, such as yourselves, and we can inquire in a very mindful way. And that's, it's sort of like, I see this as relationship building. And we enter these territories together that might be murky, and we don't really want to look at them. And we sort of encourage each other to look at them. And that's kind of the beauty of community in my way. And this community that has built and do things that we might not feel comfortable doing by ourselves, or not really know where we're going. So good job. So this is a bit of a continuation. So this is it's a book called The Five Invitations. It's called the Five Invitations, Discovering What Death Can Teach Us About Living Fully. It's by a man, his name is Frank Ostaseski, who started the Zen Hospice Project. He was one of the co-founders of the Zen Hospice Project, I believe in the 80s, when the AIDS epidemic was hitting very strongly in San Francisco Bay Area. And he would show up to hotel rooms where people were dying, and tiny 1-bedroom studios where there might be 3 or 4 people dying with AIDS, before we had any treatment, before we knew what it was, et cetera, and really being with them, sitting with them, and guiding them not only through their own realization of death, but also through their own transformative experiences, And so he wrote an entire book on it. He's guided over thousands of people, not only family members of people who have died, but also people in the active process of dying or transitioning, or passing, or whatever word you'd like to use. But essentially discovering what death can teach us about living fully, discovering what death can teach us about living fully. And to be fully honest with you, many people come to the realization of some sort of impermanence in their life, like, oh my God, I'm not going to be here forever, because that's what I thought when I was 20. And because of either you're diagnosed with some sort of life-threatening illness, or you're in a car accident, and you're like, my goodness, a centimeter difference and I could have not been here. Or a family member passes, maybe expectedly or unexpectedly, and you have to, you go through a grieving process. And then maybe some of that grieving process might be the understanding of your own impermanence, that we all are going to die. Many people say that this is a package deal. You don't come here without the promise of dying, without the promise of dying. When, don't know, but many of us don't live fully, and you can find numerous quotes about living one moment fully, and you've lived your entire life, for instance, or just some people who have lived 100 years and have never really lived with any sort of awareness or mindfulness, and yet other people who have only lived 5, 6, 7 years with deep sense of presence, and being able to live fully, to say, wow, I really had a full life, and I was aware throughout my life. And one of the triggers for this can be someone in our community dying or passing, or transitioning, a family member, a friend, or even if we come face to face with our own death, maybe we're hospitalized for something, whatever that might be. And so that's really the point of this, is really about helping us, all of us, live fully, which is, in my opinion, what mindfulness really is. It's bringing mindfulness to every moment without judgments. And so he has these 5 invitations for everyone. Discovering what death can teach us about living fully. The foreword is written by Rachel Naomi Remen, who has actually published many books herself. She's published some beautiful stories, including Kitchen Table Wisdom and My Grandfather's Blessings. Kitchen Table Wisdom and My Grandfather's Blessing. And she is a physician. She's a physician out of UCSF, and she started something called the Commonweal Health Center up there, really looking at various ways of bringing health and healing to the community. And she wrote the foreword for the book, and so I wanted to just go through that before we dive into the book a little bit. Forward, as the book starts off, the transformative power of death, love and death. This is a quote by Maria Rilke. Love and death are the great gifts that are given to us. Mostly they are passed on unopened. Mostly they are passed on unopened. This is Rachel Naomi Remen. And if you don't know her, I recommend you look her up. She's a quite remarkable woman. So this is her talking in the first person. I first encountered death at the time I was born. I weighed 2.1 pounds and spent the first 6 months of my life between worlds in an incubator untouched by human hands. I encountered death again at 15 when my chronic illness declared itself in the night and I was rushed unconscious to a hospital in New York City where I spent almost a year in a coma. She very openly talks about her Crohn's disease in her books, and how Crohn's disease not only affected her life, but also affected her ability to care more compassionately with patients. Most of the people I know I've met on the edge between life and death, magnetized there as I have been by the deep wish to glimpse what is most real. Frank Ostaseski is one of these people, my colleague, my fellow traveler, my teacher. In the 5 invitations, he has written a beautiful book about life on the edge, about all of life, really, and invited us to join him in the space between the worlds, to sit at the table of unknowing, to wonder together, to become wise. So there's this, so just sort of the unknowing, wonder together. My grandfather, so she's talking about herself. My grandfather was a Kabbalist and by nature a mystic. For him, life was a constant dialogue with the soul of the world. All events were doorways, and the world revealed itself constantly. He was able to see the most profound of realizations in the most ordinary of occurrences. Most of us do not have this gift. We need something larger, something that stops us in our habits of seeing and hearing with more authority, something that challenges our habitual perceptions and the ways of thinking in order to recognize the true nature of things. Death is one such doorway. Awareness is the great gift of death. For many people, authentic life starts at the time of death, not our own death, but someone else's. Simply put, the nature of life itself is holy. We are always on holy ground, yet this is rarely a part of our daily experience. For most of us, the sacred shows up like a flash of lightning, a sharp inhalation between one unnoticed breath and the next. The daily fabric that covers what is most real is commonly mistaken for what is most real until something tears a hole in it and reveals the true nature of the world. Yet the invitation to become aware is commonplace. In his brilliant book, Small is Beautiful, E.F. Schumacher suggests that we can see only what we have grown an eye to see. He proposes that the endless debate about the nature of the world is not about differences, but simply about the differing capacity of our eyes. The book that you are holding offers simple, powerful practices to enable you to see what is most real in the midst of what is most familiar. It is an opportunity to see beyond the ordinary. Unlike many books about death and dying presently available, this book is not about a theory or a cosmology, either traditional or personal. It is not someone's ideas or beliefs about what the experience of dying is and means. This book is a sharing of deep experience by a superbly aware observer. It invites you to grow your eyes. My grandfather taught me that a teacher is not a wise man, but a pointing finger directing our attention to the reality that surrounds us. Frank Ostaseski is such a teacher. This book will remind you of many things. It has reminded me of how few things really matter and how much they matter. How often we go spiritually hungry in the midst of plenty, and how many, many teachers surround us, patiently offering all that we need in order to live wisely and well. I am reminded that death, like love, is intimate, and that intimacy is the condition of the deepest learning. I am reminded, too, of the simplicity of the true teacher and the power of story to include us in a web of connection far more profound than the superficial things that divide us. Lastly, I am reminded that we are all invited to the dance. I feel a deep gratitude for the invitation to participate fully in life, which is so graciously offered here. So will you. Ultimately, death is a close and personal encounter with the unknown. Many of those who have died and been revived by the skills of science tell us that the experience has revealed to them the purpose of life. This is not to become wealthy or famous or powerful. The purpose of every life is to grow in wisdom and to learn to love better. If this is your purpose, then the 5 Invitations is the book for you. So there's a few concepts there that I'd like to sort of dive into. One is seeing, that we are essentially in every moment we're walking in the sacredness of this life, in the holiness is what she calls it. Many of us don't realize it, don't recognize the absolute sacredness of this moment. We're too busy with what other things, let's say. Through the practice of mindfulness, and I've actually used this as a definition, or let's say a reason to practice mindfulness in the past, I've said this thing is, you really you may start to see or appreciate the extraordinary in the ordinary, how we're living in a constant state of abundance, even though we feel as if there is scarcity all around us. The abundance of this moment, this present moment, essentially. And so how we can use this moment as a portal to the sacred. This moment right here, you're breathing, you're aware, you're noticing your senses. That's it. Just think of the miraculousness of that, of all the, right, as we broke it down last week, of all the subatomic particles that had to come together to create the molecules, to create the cells, to create the tissues, to create the organs that created you. Just that in and of itself is like, whoa. Right? And then the wonder, the unknowingness, the wonder of this dance that we're in, the unknowingness of death, how we can be, through the practice of mindfulness, we receive each moment, right? There's a natural inquiry to the moment, a willingness to be with what is, without judgment. All these are ways that we have described mindfulness in the past, and yet when the moment of death arises, that we enter into the unknown moment as a moment. Here's the next moment that comes. Were you able to cope with all the other moments prior to this? Maybe. And if you have been practicing mindfulness, maybe you're actually able to cope with more moments with some sort of peace of mind, right? That window of tolerance that we talked about 2 weeks ago has actually been able to increase because you're bringing in your breath to the practice. You're bringing in mindful awareness. You're bringing in your breath. Your window of tolerance is increasing. What does that allow you to do? Be more present with each moment. Allow the moment to come, be present with it, and welcome the next moment. That there's no resistance, okay? Or that when there is resistance, we notice it with mindfulness and we don't judge ourselves. We don't hit ourselves on the back. Oh, I'm resisting. I'm resisting. that as the moment comes, that we appreciate it, we encounter it with an open curiosity. Here's this new moment. Here it is. How is it? What is it like for you? Are you aware of it? Can you be with it? Right? All those questions. Here's the next moment. And here's the next moment. How is this moment for you? How is this moment? Just this moment. Can for you one moment, right? Drop everything that you are resisting in life just for a moment. You can pick up all the resistance you want afterwards. Just this moment. Just how's that feel? Drop any resistance you're having to this moment, anything. So now, if you practice this over and over and over and over and over and over again, maybe there'll be an ease into the unknowingness of each moment, even through the moment of passing or transitioning or dying, whatever that might be. That's why, to me, the practice of mindfulness is so essential throughout our life, because it can actually help us in not only living life more fully, but also in the moment of that transition, that we can be with the moment, with what is, and not resist it. Okay. And this is how death can open up that portal if it hasn't opened up the portal for us prior to coming to our deathbed. All right. He writes in his book, death is not waiting for us at the end of a long road. Death is always with us in the marrow of every passing moment. She is the secret teacher hiding in plain sight. She helps us to discover what matters most. And the good news is we don't have to wait until the end of our lives to realize the wisdom that death has to offer. All right. So what are his 5 invitations? And then we'll go into our practice. What are his 5 invitations? These are lessons that are meant to serve as a practical guideline, essentially, for dealing with death yourself and for living life fully with integrity. The first invitation, don't wait. Don't wait. How many of you, I'll do that tomorrow or the next day or next week or next month. Don't wait. Don't wait. If you have that inclination, right, to call up your friend and just say hi. How many of us push that? Oh, I'll see him next week. I'll see him next week. Don't wait. Pick up the phone. Say hello. Welcome everything. The second invitation, welcome everything, push away nothing. Welcome everything, push away nothing. Don't resist. Don't resist. Right? For that split second, could you not resist? Could you drop all the resistance? Everything? Could you just drop it for a sec? For one split moment. Welcome everything, push away nothing. Number 3, the third invitation, bring your whole self to the experience. Bring your whole self. We've talked about this, right? Bring your entire self to this experience. If the experience invokes a sense of joy, wonder, love, excitement, happiness, enrich the moment. Right? Enrich the moment. Bring yourself, your full self. So don't wait. Number one, welcome everything, push away nothing. Number two, bring your whole self to the experience. Find a place to rest in the middle of everything. It's a good one. It's a good one. Find a place to rest in the middle of everything. Find a place to rest in the middle of it all. Where can you rest? Right? To me, that's sort of analogous. We practice mindfulness. That's sort of analogous to finding your anchor, right? Where do you rest? Where can you place your mind when your mind is jumping everywhere? Like that puppy that you just bought, the 2-week-old puppy. It's going everywhere. Where do you find a place for your mind to rest? Where can you rest? It actually involves a bit of searching, right? Finding your anchor. I think I told you, it took me about 15 years to find my anchor, and it still changes with some meditations, right? The anchor would be analogous to your resource. Okay, do you go outside? Do you listen to music? Or do you spend time with friends? Do you have one friend that you like to call? Do you have a pet or animal? Do you hug a blanket, a stuffed animal? Do you go outside and put your feet in the sand? Where's a place that you can rest amidst it all, that you have as a resource? Not only in your mind, but maybe with your physical body, right? Where do you go? Right? You feel stressed. Can you go outside? Can you look at the sky? Can you look at the moon if it's night? Can you touch a tree? Can you go to your favorite flower, plant, whatever it might be, right? But find a place. It's kind of like your anchor. Where do you pay your attention to in our mindfulness meditations? Where's a resource for you, not only from a mental perspective, but also a physical perspective? Do you have a special couch that you sit on? Do you curl up in your bed? Do you go hug somebody? Whatever it is, but find it, right? My daughter is she's turning 9 months and 4 days, and I put her in the front seat of my bike. I have a bike, and I've put her in the front seat ever since she was about 4.5 months old. And at first we went really slowly, and now she likes to go fast. And she also falls asleep in there. So if you can imagine, so there's a point, maybe 20 minutes into our bike ride, where she gets so relaxed that she falls asleep in the bike ride as I'm going back and forth. And I'm talking to her. I talk to her and I tell her, hey, look at that white flower over there. Look at the bumblebee that's flying. And we're going pretty slowly, kind of like biking on a, but the other day I started playing, I played some music for her. And as soon as I played the music, you could tell that there was some calm, even more than just being in the bike. It was like her whole body it was like whatever the tune was, calmed, right? And I told it to my wife, and I used it again, and already now 3 straight days. And I was like, wow, this is my music sound might be a resource for her. But to just sort of note that, right? I don't know what it was. Is it how I feel when I'm with her, right? I enjoy the music, and so she resonates with that. Don't know yet, but listening to song, prayer, reading a book, whatever, find a place to rest. And then the last one, which brings up, is cultivate don't know mind. I love that one. Cultivate a don't know mind. I don't know. What is death like? I don't know. Can I try to be? Can I have a practice? Can I use my life while I'm alive to cultivate a practice such that when this moment comes, it doesn't matter which moment, but when this moment comes, that I can be with it without resistance, with full appreciation, with total presence, and therefore I'm not only living in this moment, but in each moment. And as those moments continue, and one day, as we've talked about it, with the impermanence of the physical body, right, our bodysuit is going to go back to the earth. How are we going to be with that moment? And if I can cultivate a practice during this lifetime where I can be more present with each moment, I can guarantee you I'm not only going to be more present with my kids, with the relationships I have with my community, with my friends, with my family, with my patients, with nature, with music, with sight, with sound. And what happens? The sacred emerges from that moment. And maybe, I don't know yet, there'll be a greater presence and a greater ability to be with the moment of transition. What a gift that would be, wouldn't it? Fully aware, so whatever happens, right? Without resistance, because we have done a practice on impermanence, because we have done a practice on mindfulness, because we have done a practice with totally being open to the moment with a curious inquiry. All right. Don't know mind. Don't know. I don't know. How's this moment for you? Well, you know how this moment is. What about the next one? Well, I don't know how that's going to be. Oh, let me just sit with this moment. Let me be with this moment without resistance. With that open mind, that don't know mind. I don't know. Even if I'm just sitting there, there's a sense of kind of a peace that comes up, right? I don't need to know everything. Don't need to know everything. All right, so with that, we're going to take these 5 invitations and we're going to go into our mindfulness practice for today. The 5 invitations, the mindfulness practice of the 5 invitations. Okay, so let's find a comfortable posture. A posture that you will be relaxed yet alert. Closing your eyes if you feel comfortable closing your eyes. If not, having a soft downward gaze, as if you're looking off on the horizon, watching the sunset or sunrise over the ocean. And taking a moment to give yourself permission to do this practice for the next 10 to 15 minutes. That there's nothing you need to do, that there's no place you need to be, at least for the next 10 minutes. You can fully allow yourself to be present here. That you don't need to check your emails or answer your phone. And taking 2 or 3 deep breaths and really allowing your body to release any tension that may be present, and to coming more fully into the present moment. And then breathing regularly and bringing your attention to your anchor, where you choose to direct your attention to, a place you can direct your attention to that feels safer, that feels more comforting. This can be a repetition of a word, sound, or phrase, a prayer, a mantra. It could be the felt sense of your breath. It could be an emotion. It could be an image that you see in your mind's eye. It could be the sounds that you hear in the present moment. It could be the sensation of your feet on the floor. Whatever it is that you can direct your attention to as a point of focus to help you concentrate. And as your mind wanders, simply recognizing your mind has wandered and coming back to your anchor, coming back to your resource. And this is the place to rest in your mind. This anchor is a place to rest in the middle of everything. And just opening your awareness and maybe bringing in an image of a physical place that you feel like you can rest in to calm your senses. Finding a place to rest in the middle of everything. In your mind, in your home, in your community. And as you are finding a place to rest in your mind with your anchor, or noting a place to rest in your home or community, see if you can welcome everything. Push away nothing. Can you be present for this moment? Without resistance? Can you find a place to rest in the middle of things without resistance? Welcoming everything, pushing away nothing. And choosing not to wait. Not to wait until we get that new job, the kids go away for college, our next birthday, next week, tomorrow, or even later. Let's find a place to rest our mind and our physical body as we welcome everything and push away nothing without waiting. It is the present moment. Can we be fully present in this moment without resistance? See if for this moment, just this moment, you can drop any resistance that may be present for you. No resistance. Liberation emerges. bringing your whole self to the experience as you find a place to rest, as you're dropping the resistance, welcoming everything, not waiting, bringing your whole self to the present moment. Being totally open to the present moment as a new moment emerges, moment to moment, moment to moment, being aware and learning how to cultivate the don't know mind, an unknowingness of what is to come, but an embodiment of presence in this moment. Having no resistance, being openly curious of the moment without judgment, with a willingness to be with what is, bringing our whole experience, bringing our entire self to this moment, welcoming everything, as we find a place to rest in the middle of it all. As we bring our attention to our anchor, our resource, noting as the mind wanders, coming back to that place, we can rest our attention in the middle of everything, bringing our whole self to the experience, not waiting, welcoming everything and pushing away nothing. No resistance, full acceptance as we cultivate the don't know mind, an unknowingness, the great mystery as it unfolds with each moment. Practicing presence, being aware of each moment, moment to moment, as it arises and unfolds. Being present, welcoming everything, bringing your whole self, not waiting, with no resistance. Now, bringing your attention back to your anchor, back to your resource. Taking 2 or 3 deep breaths, feeling your feet on the floor, your thighs against your chair or whatever surface they may be on. And feeling the sensation of your whole body. Opening your eyes if your eyes were closed. Reorienting yourself to your room and your surroundings. And just taking a moment to see how you feel. Reflecting on your practice.